Welcome to another Cardano update. Like always, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. And in this video, I want to start with the daily Cardano chart because something interesting is happening here. And if you look at the RSI, Cardano right now got back above the moving average on the daily RSI and used it as support right here. And right now it seems like we are bouncing off of it. Now, could this be a sign that the low is in? Well, yes, but does this confirm that the low is in? Well, obviously no, because Ethereum can still go lower, so please do not think that the low is in only because we use the moving average as support. This is a good sign, however, and we could actually get a short-term bounce, and if we do, that could put us at the 200-day moving average and then the bull market support band, and we'll see if that happens or not. Keep in mind, we did something similar here before we had a 300% pump. We actually tested the moving average multiple times, we got below it multiple times, and then I know you cannot see this, but here we also got back above it and then we retested it, and like I said, you cannot see this on the daily, but we retested the moving average and then we used it as support and we bounced off of it. So this could be an early sign that the low is in, or that maybe it's also close to being in. Like I said, Ethereum still has a chance of getting another low, so this will not guarantee that the low is in. And also, if you go in the weekly chart, there's still some work to do here. We are still below the moving average and we still have to get back above it. We have been below it since January, and if you look in the past what happened when we were below the moving average and when we kept getting rejected by it, I mean, the price kept going down. As you can see, after we got below it right here, we stayed below it for well let's say from March all the way to about October, so we stayed below it for multiple months. And of course we did get back above it a couple of times, but we got rejected. We tried using it as support and we did not manage to use it as support, and yeah, during that time the price just went down quite a lot, and the exact same thing happened right here. So I don't know if we will just repeat this pattern, and I don't know if Cardano will just keep going down for the next couple of weeks and maybe even hit another low and hit like 45 cents or 40 cents or 38 cents, because it's definitely possible for that to happen, because we had the exact same pattern in the past and we had it multiple times. I mean, this pattern really likes to appear on the Cardano chart every single cycle, and it appears multiple times a cycle. It even happened right here in the previous cycle. We got below the moving average on the weekly chart and we stayed below it from June all the way to about January of the next year. So yeah, this could be a sign that Cardano might start dropping. However, we have another example for this, and this is this right here. And I think in terms of the structure, this is where we are at right now. When you not look at it from a 4-year cycle point of view, but rather from a structure point of view, this was a 1-to-1-2 setup, and this right now is a 1-to-1-2 setup. So I think this is where we are at right now, meaning that maybe we are about to do something like this right here rather than what we did down here, or actually down here or down here. So I mean, could that be the case? Well, let's check it out. If you look at the RSI here, we also dropped below the moving average multiple times, and here we actually stayed below it from August all the way to about November. So we stayed below it for about 2 months. Now right now we have been below it, like I said, since let's say about December, and we are already in April, so obviously it's not the exact same time frame. However, if we actually do what we did here, and if we test the moving average and get back above it, that could be a sign that the low is already in and that we are just doing what we did here. However, if we get rejected by the moving average, I think there's a possibility that we get another low, and there's also the possibility that the Cardano chart and Bitcoin and Ethereum just continue dropping until July, and maybe the summer drop has already started. I know it's not summer right now, I know it would not really make sense. However, if you look at the Bitcoin chart and you look at when it started its previous couple of corrections, this one for example, of this correction of 2021, it started in April. You could say that it even started right here in February, because after we got this high right here, yes, we did form new highs, but they were not really too far away from each other. So you could say that the drop actually started in February, and I mean, it lasted until July. And if you look at 2017, it's a different story. Here the drop actually started in June, and that's why I believe in this cycle we will start it in June. But there's also the chance that it has already started, and maybe Bitcoin will not get a new all-time high by the end of May. Now, I'm not gonna change my prediction because of the RSI right here on the weekly. I've talked about this many times, but you have to be aware of all these scenarios, and maybe Bitcoin is just getting the summer drop right now. And I've read some comments about this, but maybe during the summer this cycle Bitcoin will actually go up, and that's a possibility, especially with Bitcoin dominance being at cycle highs. We'll talk about this as well. So maybe during this cycle Bitcoin will go up during the summer. I don't know. I mean, everything right now is pointing to the fact that Bitcoin will most likely get to at least like $140,000 by the end of the first, let's say, 2 weeks of June, and then we will get that summer drop, which will put us back to about 100k, because this low right here was 75k, the low before it was 50k, and the low before that was 25k, and the RSI on the weekly went to the exact same levels every single time we got these lows. Could that be a coincidence? Well, maybe, but maybe not, and maybe we are about to do the exact same thing again, meaning that if we drop to 100k in the next low, and we drop to the exact same RSI levels again, if we want to drop to 100k, I mean, from the high, we would have to drop like 30%, because all of these drops so far have been at least like 20%, so even if we drop like only 20%, Bitcoin still has to get to at least like $120,000 to $130,000 by the end of May, if we want the next low to be 100k, so I highly believe that, the high will still happen, and please do not forget that Bitcoin, once it starts going up, it can go up quite a lot, but before we do that, it could actually get a short-term correction right now. Now, like I said, if we get a short-term correction, we have to stay above the trend line right here, because if we don't, and if we close another week below it, it could be very bearish, but until that happens, I'm not going to say anything about that. And well, right now what Bitcoin needs to do is get a correction, and why am I saying that? Because we got to the bull market support band, and it seems like we are getting rejected right now. We also got rejected by the 200-day moving average, and Bitcoin dominance right now is at 64%. It almost got back above this high right here. It did not really, reach it yet, but I think we're gonna break above it, and I think there is a chance that Bitcoin dominance gets to 66% rather than what we thought it would get to, and that was 60%. So yes, everybody was fooled by this correction, even myself. I thought the altcoin season actually started here, but it turns out it was just a big fake out, like we had, for example, here or even here. So yeah, I mean, we fell for it, and we were wrong about this, but I don't think Bitcoin dominance is gonna go higher than 66%. And it would actually make sense for it to go to 66% right now, considering the fact that Ethereum is still not oversold on the weekly chart. Now, it is oversold on the daily, but that does not matter. If you go on the weekly, we are almost oversold. We are almost there. The RSI is at like 32. To get to the oversold territory, we would have to close at like 30 or 29 or something. And I mean, there's still time. Today, I think it's Thursday, so there are like 3 days left of the week. We could actually get to the oversold territory this week and close there, and then Ethereum could finally bounce. So Bitcoin dominance does not necessarily have to go to 66%. However, I think it will, and I think during this week or maybe next week, Ethereum will find some kind of low, and then we will finally close a wick in the oversold territory. And after we do that, we're gonna do what we did right here. After getting to the oversold territory and closing a wick in there, as you can see here, we got a 62% pump in like 28 days, and here we got a 95% pump in 28 days. So yes, this drop right here looks very similar to what we had in the past during the bear markets, and that's actually a very good thing, because we're actually very close to bottoming, in my opinion. And when we do bottom, Bitcoin dominance will obviously start falling like crazy. And I talked about this on the Discord server, but the higher Bitcoin dominance goes, the lower it will drop, in my opinion. Well, actually not the lower, but the deeper it will have to drop in order to get to the trend line right here. I think it's possible for Bitcoin dominance to get to 40% or 41% to test the trend line in the next, let's say, 12 months, maybe 16 months or so. And if that happens, and when that happens, of course, we will have to break down like 25%. Now, is that possible based on what happened in the previous cycles? Well, obviously, and I read a comment yesterday telling me that this cycle is different, and I have to disagree. Now, of course, the way we went up, I mean, during this cycle, we only went up. We did not have any corrections on the way. I mean, if you count this as a correction, maybe you can, but this was not really a major correction, for example, like we had here or even here. In this cycle, Bitcoin dominance only went up. However, that does not mean that this cycle is not the exact same. I mean, here in the previous cycle, we went up for a good 2 years or 3 years, and then we started going down. And so far in this cycle, we have been going up for almost 3 years. So at some point it will fall. It has to fall. I mean, things cannot really go up forever. So in my opinion, it will still happen. But if we get to 66% first, in order for Ethereum to get to the oversold territory, that would actually be perfect. And I mean, getting a correction on the Bitcoin chart would also make sense. Now, don't expect a big correction. I mean, if Bitcoin gets to like $80,000, I think that would actually be enough for Ethereum to drop back to like $1,400 again, just because Bitcoin dominance is so high and just because it will most likely go higher. So I think we are very close to bottoming, but I would not really say, at least not yet, that the low is already in, because there's no sign that the low is in. And well, what we need to wait for right now is Ethereum, and I mean, that's all we need to know. And of course, there is some Elliott wave count that we can talk about on the Cardano chart, but it does not really matter. I mean, if Ethereum drops again and if we get another low or some kind of double bottom here, it's not gonna matter, because I think Cardano will do the exact same thing. So there is a chance we drop to like 50 cents again. Now, please do not forget about the ADA Ethereum chart. This chart is also important. It's in a downtrend. It has been in a downtrend for a couple of years. So there is a chance that Cardano just says, you know, no, I don't want to go down with Ethereum. I want to, you know, stay up. And if that happens, and if Ethereum starts going down, but Cardano does not follow it, I mean, that could make this chart go up, and that could give us new all-time highs. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know. But like I said, Cardano kind of needs to break out of this structure, because if it doesn't, it will go to zero against Ethereum in the next couple of years. And I mean, if you want that to happen, that's, you know, your thing, but I do not really want to see that. So we'll see if we manage to break above this trend line. It's going to be very important to actually test it. I mean, even if we don't test it, I mean, that's actually going to be bearish. So we kind of have to test it, and well, we'll see what happens with this. And well, that's all you need to know. I mean, Cardano is still doing just fine. It's just repeating the exact same pattern that we had in the previous cycle. And right now we're just waiting for that cross on the bull market support band and for that big pump. And until that happens, I mean, there's not much else you need to know. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts, and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.